This is a cubic inch of sound. And over the past week, we all watched... Wait, actually, I don't know if we did. We were supposed to watch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I'm pretty sure I was the only one who actually rewatched it, and everybody else just saw it the first time.
Loser.
Yeah, but my name is Luke, and I'm wearing jeans right now.
My name is Nick, and I am the Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I'm Kevin, and I have a middle arm, which is kind of weird if you're both characters.
I'm Tim, and if you spell my name very incorrectly, it's a palindrome.
I'm Dan, and I'm not wearing.
What are you wearing?
I'm Connor. Oh, come on, Kevin. You're always the one who gets interrupted and complains about it. You'd think you'd learn a thing or two. Anyways, I'm Connor, and I've actually been hiding on the moon since the end of Avengers Endgame.
Wow.
Yeah,
crazy.
that is a fun fact.
What's that like?
It's kind of lonely.
How's the food?
Are you there with the Inhuman?
No, I haven't seen them yet. They might be on the, like a neighbor's, a few blocks down.
It's okay. Nobody saw Inhumans.
Oh, did that come out?
That
Like
came
5
out
years
ages
ago.
ago. That was
Oh,
it was like
God.
a TV show that I think it was on ABC or something.
I think I saw
good
one trailer for that and then never thought about it again.
I never
Wait.
got around to watch.
It says September 29th, 2017.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Wow.
ages.
In contrast, Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, was actually like the most watched premiere on Disney Plus. So this is a lot more popular.
Really?
Yeah,
More
Lightly.
people watch this than The Mandalorian?
Yeah, WandaVision's in second.
Which is crazy, but
People
Marvel's
were probably just
dominating.
sad about the recent Star Wars stuff besides Mandalorian, so they were like, I don't want to watch the premiere.
Yeah, but it was cool.
Yeah,
I think right now, like, superhero content is more mainstream than like Star Wars or other kind of sci-fi entries.
Especially abroad.
Yeah, you're right.
Wider,
Yeah,
foreign
true,
audience
that's
don't
true.
know Star Wars that
I
much.
think
But
The Mandalorian is what got people to buy Disney Plus, so they didn't watch. No one watched like the premiere, like all when it came out. They're like, "Oh wait, this is good," and they like hopped in halfway through.
Yeah.
I like us mentioning that superhero content is big abroad because it's like, who's abroad watching the Captain America content, being like, oh yeah, cool, Captain America.
It's like that one time I had kind of looked through comic history of U.S. Agent, and like one of his last stints is there was like a team of purely Canadian superheroes, and that was their whole thing. And then U.S. Agent joined and took the lead, and it was like, all right, valid.
That is a
Sounds about
classic
right.
US move right there.
Yeah, oh yeah, big time.
Now I hear you guys are Canadian superheroes, but my name's John Walker, and anyway. So do we want to talk about Falcon and Winter Soldier? What's it about? Dan, you're here. Tell us the premise. What's it about?
well, you see, in the wake of the world-altering events of Avengers Endgame, the world is in chaos. People are confused, thousands of people displaced. And in the chaos, one man rises up to settle the world back to the way it was or should be.
Wait, one man? I thought it was two men.
There's two. I mean, even like three technically, if you kind of count the, or maybe four. The whole
When I
team.
say one
There's-
man,
there's a
the
few
one man
men.
is a metaphor for the multiple men.
I feel like there were a lot
Wow.
of men, but I feel like it was mainly the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is probably why they called it Falcon and the Winter.
That's a bit of a leap, but okay.
Yeah, no, I've got a pretty wild interpretation of this.
Fan
Radical.
theories are going crazy.
Bit wacky.
What did you guys think of the first episode?
Fight scene was awesome. It hooked me in way more than WandaVision.
Yeah, there was the opening scene was kind of just like a 15-minute long fight scene of like Falcon flying around. He was fighting Batroc. Remember that guy from The Winter
Yeah.
Soldier?
Oh yeah.
He's
Mhm.
French. His one character trait is being French.
He's also evil.
also
Don't forget that.
I don't really
Yeah,
know.
yeah, being French. I think that's all kind of wrapped it up.
I don't really know what his goal was, to be honest. I think he wanted money and then revenge. He's probably sad about that one time that Steve Rogers beat him up.
That's like
Yeah.
every villain.
Yeah, but like when he comes back in the finale, he's like, "Oh, you cost me a lot of money," and it's like typically, if someone costs you a lot of money, you just try and like avoid them, and make more money. I don't really get the whole like this guy in particular. I'm
Well, he's
hunting him
evil.
down.
He has to do revenge stuff,
They really liked him in Winter Soldier, and they said, you got to come back and play a pivotal role. We need...
He doesn't leap. I noticed that there was a lack of leaping, despite the fact that he is sometimes called Batroc the Leap.
I mean,
It's
his
like,
flips are kind of leap. They're just
he does a lot of
not
kicks.
very critical.
He definitely
a
has
kick
like a
fight,
leg-oriented moveset. The wingsuits were really funny when like Falcon was he was trying to rescue a guy. Batroc had kidnapped him, I guess, and his team of goons. And then the goons all jumped out of a plane after putting on those like flying squirrel wingsuit things. And they were like flying around, and one of them was like shooting a gun at the Falcon, and it was like this. Yeah, it looks a little bit stupid, but it was fun. It was a good action scene.
It was nice.
It was definitely extremely over the top, but I think that like, I don't know, it set the scene, set the mood.
There were a couple brutal murders in that. Like, kicking a couple people out of helicopters, grabbing some people. Like, well, like, didn't he grab one guy by a line midair and like snapped him or something?
I think one guy was shoved into a rock face.
Yeah, Captain America is totally willing to kill people. You know, he's not Batman. As long as they're fighting him, it's okay. You know?
Yeah.
Right.
Good thing Captain America
mission and no one can react in time.
People.
Yeah, he can see faster than the average person.
I really liked what they did with Bucky in the first episode because in general it feels like in the MCU Bucky's whole thing as the Winter Soldier it pretty much got fixed off screen. Like in Civil War it was a big issue, and then they like put him in Wakanda and they're like, hey, the Wakandans will be able to help you, and then it all just kind of happens off screen, and by Infinity War he's like fine. Or he seems fine at least. Here, you know, we see kind of like the lasting effects of it, and he has nightmares and he has like PTSD and stuff, and he's thinking about like the people that he killed when he was the Winter Soldier. And it was good. It was cool.
Yeah, I remember one shot in particular of him sitting on the couch with the therapist. It was just like extremely well thought out shot. And it just like made me really excited for the rest of the show. Like the first, well, I mean, the first few episodes at least were pretty well shot in my opinion.
It was a very intense therapy scene. Like, it was very close up to both of them. The therapist was kind of bad.
It was like 20 minutes of footage. I don't know if they were joking, but someone said that in an interview.
They've both been talking about the therapy session that like everyone's like, did you know that scene was improv? Like that one in the second episode. Yeah, so.
Well, we're not talking about the second episode. I didn't know it was improv. No, but I seriously think that the therapist was kind of mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He called her a bad shrink.
That was a little mean himself.
What?
Like calling your shrink a bad shrink. That was mean. Maybe she was just being mean.
No, that was kind of mean. You're right.
Yeah, but I mean, if she's like kind of mean the whole time, she is a bad shrink. Maybe she just needs to hear some criticism, even if it's not very nice.
Yeah, but is shrink an acceptable thing to call a therapist? Is that a slur? Is that rude?
I don't think it's a slur. I think it's just like less.
It's probably not polite.
It's not polite. You're right.
Where does shrink come from? Why is it called shrink? Is it because they're always small?
I think there's a joke at one point, like they would shrink your brain. I don't know.
It sounds like you're making that up,
40s
Dan.
or like 50s or something like that. Like some weird old terminology. I don't know.
They're trying to shrink your brain by...
Yeah, no, Dan's right. It apparently derives from head shrinker. Which, like, yeah, I don't know.
They're trying to smooth out your brain, make it smaller.
I want my brain to be smooth. I wanna feel it.
I don't want one of those gross, ugly, wrinkly brains.
Yeah. I want to feel the brain.
You know what I'm saying? I want to smooth it out, you know?
Take a nice flat iron to the brain.
I was thinking whenever Bucky mentions Wakanda, I always think that he's like a white guy who went to Africa for a year and then never shuts up about it. And he's like, oh, no, wait, but when I was in Africa, it was really cool. They had, like, these crazy nanobots and stuff, and, like, they made it so that I didn't kill people.
I like that, because Wakanda has, like, vibranium and, like, super advanced technology, they also have, like, the best therapists. Like, it doesn't always go hand in hand, but Wakanda's just better in, like, literally every way.
Yeah.
What do you mean best therapists?
Like, they got the brainwashing out of Bucky.
Oh, I thought that was just, like, surgery. Like, I don't know.
They lobotomize.
I mean, at that point, they just have the best lobotomizers in the world, you know?
Like,
can
we
see that.
removed the
Programmed his
entire
brain
left
using
hemisphere of
metal.
your brain.
I don't
know.
They could do scans pretty well. Maybe they just did like a brain changing scan.
He doesn't just have a metal arm; he has a vibranium brain now. He's just a robot.
You guys remember War Machine showed up in the first episode? I kind of completely forgot about that until I rewatched it, to be honest.
Yeah, I
don't
haven't
remember that
rewatched
at all.
it, so I don't remember it.
Yeah, they got Don Cheadle. They were like, "Hey, Don Cheadle, you should show up and like talk to Sam for a bit." And they do.
Oh, no,
When
yeah,
Sam
I do remember
is
that,
giving
actually.
up the shield.
Yeah.
Stupid
Oh,
move
yeah.
right there.
That actually wasn't Rhodey. It was canonically Don Cheadle. He was like, "Oh, I love you,
Yeah.
Rwanda."
Wow.
I can't wait for Don Cheadle and James Rhodes to hang out together in the MCU.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
I will say the whole thing with Sam giving up the shield felt a little bit weird because in Endgame it seemed like he kind of just got over that pretty quickly of like, oh man, the shield feels like it's someone else's, and then Steve is like, it shouldn't, it's your shield, and he's like, okay, I guess it's my shield, and then in this one he's like, you know what, it's not my shield, I'm gonna put it in a museum.
It
Yeah,
belongs
I
in a
mean,
museum.
This might. I mean, this is a conversation we could probably have a lot later, but like, I think that was one of the really important themes. Like a lot of people have been talking about different themes of the show, but I don't think anyone really touched on kind of like who should hold power and how should they use it. And that was like, to me, like the central message.
Or broker.
Yeah, like exactly, like it literally, like you couldn't spell it out in more black and white terms. I think a lot of Sam's actions were kind of to show like, not even so much like a hesitance to like embrace power, but it's just like he's okay, like he doesn't really need it. He doesn't need like a power recognition.
I guess
Yeah,
another point is that. Oh, sorry. Well, I guess another point is that he didn't anticipate the museum to give the shield away to John Walker, and that was something that he put the trust in their foundation to uphold the shield's legacy, I guess. But then they didn't. So
The Smithsonian was the real bad guys all
And
along.
I guess at the same time, like, because at the end he also is like very proud of getting Isaiah kind of enshrined in the museum. So it seems like he does kind of take very seriously like legacy and honoring that and giving it to the public. So it actually kind of makes sense that he would kind of be willing.
And
I'm not really defending the decision. It's kind of weird, but I do think it has kind of that background to it.
it did like the arc of like Sam having to like kind of come to terms with accepting the shield and everything. Oh, that was pretty good stuff. But like also I'm just kind of thinking like in Captain America 4, like if he just like flies on screen full Captain America and like you haven't seen Falcon and Winter Soldier, like you're not even going to question it. Like Endgame pretty much just kind of got you there already.
Maybe that's why they did it
that's
that way.
True.
Oh yeah,
Maybe.
that makes sense.
Actually, that's probably why they did it that way. So it isn't like nonsense if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past Marvel to just like explain it like a joke, like, oh, when did this happen? He's like, oh, whatever, and then they're in the middle of a fight scene. It seems like a very Marvel thing to just like brush over.
Yeah, well,
I guess.
they did make an entire series about it, so they didn't quite brush over it. And I mean, if you're going into the MCU and not watching all of the stuff at this point, you're kind of gonna be lost anyway.
Pretty
yeah,
much,
like
yeah.
why was everyone missing for 5 years? What's going on? Is there any backstory to that?
I feel like you'd have to be missing for 5 years to not know that one at this point.
Like, of course that's true, but I also feel like Marvel kind of has an obligation to make it as accessible as possible if they want to actually get like, maintain interest.
Well, I mean,
I don't think they're actually going to, but
they've made it popular enough that they can just say, "Oh, you didn't see this show? Too bad, you don't get the plot." Because now they're trying to get people to buy Disney Plus. So if you want to know the plot, you have to buy Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah.
So I think it makes sense that they're trying to put as much plot into these series as possible.
Yeah,
Plot
and I
is
think it's
something
very
that the MCU needs.
Yeah, I think it's just very clear that Disney Plus or Disney in general is making it available and necessary for these shows to tie into the movies. Like it's just very clear from advertising and stuff that if you want to keep up with the series, that you just got to watch these shows now.
Yeah, from what we've heard about Doctor Strange too, it sounds like WandaVision's going to be pretty essential to that. So I feel like they could have done
Have we heard anything about Doctor Strange?
We've heard
Kevin,
that.
you specifically
yeah.
don't keep up with this stuff.
We've heard that
I mean,
Wanda's gonna be in it, and that's pretty important.
I'd be willing to bet that
Sure.
there's just like that one plot point of WandaVision is gonna come back, which I didn't want to. Just the fact that Wanda has the Darkhold now is probably gonna be important. I'd imagine that most of it isn't gonna come up, but
It
that's
did
just
seem
my
like everyone was
thought.
absolutely ignorant of everything going on, so they probably just, would be like, "Oh, hey Wanda, what's up?"
Actually,
I
Multiverse
guess
of
Vision
Madness-
coming back will be probably pretty significant, but
Actually, the entirety of
Yeah.
Multiverse of Madness is going to be shot like an episode of the Dick Van Dyke Show.
It's gonna actually have Dick Van Dyke too. It's gonna be the
Wow, that's
villain.
impressive.
they did also confirm that Contessa Valentina is going to be in Black Widow as well. So like it seems like there's going to be like an A plot or not like an A and B plot, but like two separate plots in Phase 4 where there's kind of like the big magic stuff going on, and then there's probably going to be a lot of the typical like Shield-esque that we so Falcon and Winter Shoulder. So oh god, not the Winter Shoulder.
No, don't
When you
what
get the
kind of
cold shoulder.
what kind of like we have like Power Broker, we have the Contessa, so I think that will set up kind of a lot of like the I don't really know how to describe it, but you know what I mean, like Black Widow, Hawkeye
Yeah,
were always
yeah.
kind of like the normal people in the that kind of plot line.
And then Spider-Man's gonna hang out for one time and then leave.
You mean
Yeah.
Spider-Man?
Oh, maybe?
Who knows at this point?
They're just gonna have like 70 Spider-Men in that movie. You know,
What
it's
did you
the
guys
last one
think?
they're gonna.
What did you guys think about the Flag Smashers when we first see the Flag Smashers through the app, the Pokemon Go app?
That was probably the stupidest part of the Flag Smashers was that app.
No, I disagree.
Their name is up
Stupider
there.
things.
I
what-
think that like I could forgive the app as a plot point if they were better characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is completely unreasonable, but I really didn't like them calling it an app because it made it feel like Pokemon Go, or someone was like, "Oh yeah, I just downloaded this on the App Store and like it's telling me to go to this location." Like I feel like it should have been at least some sort of more coded language or something, where it's like a Cicada 3301 kind of deal instead of just kind of like, yeah, we're on
Google
Apple
Play
Play and
Yeah,
Yeah, like,
we,
I mean,
we see
from the
also
end-
at the end, not to get too much into that, but just that other people can like add things to the app and pretend to be Carly and act like they're official, and so it's like
Yeah.
why couldn't they just do that the whole time? They could
they
easily
take her phone?
just like set up a sting operation. I don't think they did take her phone
No, I think
because they didn't
or she
interact
was
with her.
killed/apprehended, right?
yeah,
But-
like even early in the first episode, the Torres he just found them using his phone. Like,
We mean
Yeah,
setting
it
up
just
the
feels
location.
like more of a vulnerability than
I
anything
I
else.
just watched the last episode like earlier today, and they don't interact with her. Like other
Yeah.
people interact with her, but they couldn't have taken her phone. to
I
do
actually,
that.
I had saved watching the last episode until today, so also
Okay.
it's pretty fresh.
Yeah. So end of episode 1, like cliffhanger is that we see they gave the shield to some random dude named John Walker. And at the beginning of the second episode is just like focused on him, kind of like the opening scene is entirely him. I honestly felt bad for him, like episode 2 and kind of episode 3, because clearly like he's clearly no Steve Rogers, right? But it also feels like he hasn't actually done anything wrong yet, and for some reason everybody just despises him. I mean, I understand why, but like I honestly just felt bad for the guy. Like, man, he's doing his best.
Yeah, that reveal for me was extra impactful because from the nose down, he looks a lot like one of my friends from school. So I was like, oh my god, that guy is Captain America.
He did look really dorky in the helmet at first. I think it like pushes his ears a little bit, and they kind of like fold it out like a Dumbo-esque,
Yeah.
I think his smug look when he was first introduced, that was it for me.
Was it
But then,
smug?
yeah,
Or
Didn't
was he
like
like happy to be there?
I don't
And then
know. I thought it was
afterward, he
smug.
looked totally fine. The whole rest of the series, I thought he looked like, handsome, gritty, whatever.
Ooh.
I don't know what was with that first shot that just was kind of like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was the camera angle too from below.
yeah,
He's not Chris
that
Evans.
doesn't flatter anybody.
Also, can I
He's
just
no
say,
Steve Rogers.
it's
Yeah.
ridiculous how good normal people are with throwing the shield. Like
Yeah.
I've always thought,
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, Steve Rogers, like he has trained with the shield a ton, and he has the super soldier serum, and like it makes him smarter. I'm pretty sure, like
Mhm.
to some
It
extent,
at least
it
makes
did.
him think faster.
Yeah. So
see
See
faster.
faster.
so it's like, okay, it makes sense that he can like ricochet it off walls and stuff, and he can like catch
Yeah.
it super well. Like he always catches it so that he catches it through like the straps of the shield, and it's like that's ridiculous with how fast it's moving. But then you see that Walker can just do the same thing. He can just do the exact same thing, and like at this point, he's not a super soldier. He's just a dude, a pretty good dude, I guess.
Well, here's the thing. In Civil War, Spider-Man was like, "What? How is the shield doing that? That thing is magic or whatever." He says it defies the laws of gravity or physics.
Yeah.
So he is also an enhanced human, and he is completely baffled at how this thing works. I think the shield actually does affect reality in some kind of way.
Maybe Thor enchanted it or something. Like after Avengers, we just didn't see. He just said, "Okay, I'm gonna put a spell so like anyone could use this shield." Just magic now.
The shield is
Well, so-
actually the 7th Infinity Stone. You don't really need it. Like, it's kind of an optional stone, but yeah.
And it's way bigger than all the rest of them.
So what's the property of vibranium? It like absorbs kinetic energy or something like that, right?
That's what they say. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't actually.
It
Yeah.
does whatever the plot needs to do.
Whatever
It's like
the plot
Vampire.
is, yeah. Because the thing that didn't sit well with me is like, even though it's not sharp, I feel like if you are a super soldier hucking that thing super fast, like that's gonna make some heads roll. And then Sam just kind of like catches it with bare hands, and he's like, "All right, let's roll." Like it is kind of like a a metal edge. I feel like if it's going fast enough.
Maybe they put a little rubber thing around it. We just never noticed.
To completely ruin the entire vibranium aspect.
No, that's how it's
There's
bouncing.
flubber around it. It's just like they coated the edge with flubber.
Okay, this is completely unrelated, right? But one scene that really bothers me, in Captain America: The Winter Soldier, there's a part where Captain America punches a guy through the shield. Like, he specifically holds the shield up and then punches the guy through it. And it's like, first of all, he could have just not done that. He could have just punched the guy. Still would have punched him. But second of all, if the shield absorbs everything, wouldn't that have just absorbed
Nullified.
the punch?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point? I don't
No,
understand.
the punch was just for show, and he just like hit him in the face with the shield.
The odd thing to me was everyone was really I don't know, hyped about when Walker, I think it's at the end of episode 4, kills the Flag Smasher in broad daylight, and I was like, yeah, but didn't Cap also Cap didn't have a no kill rule?
I
He
think
didn't do
it was
it
more-
publicly on like
Yeah,
Maybe
it was
more
like
than
seemed
killing
another
circumstantial.
nation.
I
Like,
guess,
none of them
yeah,
are
and it was also like
surrendering
brutalized,
Yeah.
The guy specifically said, like, "I surrender." Like, I
True.
didn't feel it.
Yeah.
Also, the last time that the Avengers killed people in another country started like the Accords.
Yeah, but I mean, that was by accident. that I feel like those are
Yeah.
completely different situations.
Yeah.
The
That
last
was also
time-
was a huge scale event. All of them.
The last time the Avengers killed an unarmed prisoner was Thanos, which, when you think about it, that was a little bit messed up at least, but at least fairly reasonable. I don't think anybody was really getting mad at them for that one.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they were, I mean, at least somewhat justified. Yeah, this guy didn't threaten to tear the universe apart down to its last atom. So, I mean,
Yeah, and I mean, he
Not a-
actually, Thanos actually won. He killed a lot of people.
Yeah.
The Avengers are just sore
that's all. That's
losers.
all water under the bridge.
That was future Thanos, not the Thanos in Endgame.
Oh no! I'm talking because the future Thanos, or the Thanos that was killed at the end of Endgame, that was reasonable. He was gonna kill everyone, but when Thor cuts off Thanos' head at the
Yeah, that's
beginning of
true.
Endgame, that was not entirely justified. I mean, again, fairly justified, but yeah, you could definitely make the argument he wasn't gonna do anything to
Yeah.
them.
Thanos should have stood trial, you know?
They could
That
have.
was just like,
They
dude,
could
that was
have
like
done
such
that.
a long time ago. It was just a bit.
It was a different time.
Forget
Anyway,
about it.
this episode 2 is when the Falcon and the Winter Soldier first kind of like team up. They go up against the Flag Smashers. It's when we first realize that the Flag Smashers don't actually have an MO or like any reason to be doing anything. They just things just kind of happen and they just want to stop them. That's fun. I describe
Is
a
it
lot of
fun?
things as fun.
Lots of things are fun.
I did really like the dynamic between Sam and Bucky. They just work well off of each other, and I think that kind of started in Civil War, and everybody, especially Dan, was like, "Oh man, they should make like a buddy cop movie about these two." And then here it's like, "Ooh, buddy cop movie? How about a buddy cop series or more
Yeah,
like
I
mini
was-
series?"
Especially during that therapy scene where they have interlocked knees and they're staring into each other's eyes. I was like noticing how good the chemistry between them was. Like they were just really good.
It was a very
Yeah,
good scene.
I might be
Yeah.
remembering it weird. I kind of felt a little awkward, like while I was at like the dialogue felt a little stilted. Like I felt the chemistry, but it was kind of just like I don't know. I think someone said it was improv, right?
Yeah, that
We
was
have a
I
source
guess-
that said that.
that was
Okay,
the thing,
a
like,
source has said that it's improv. I think I kind of felt that a little bit, but I think it was overall well done.
I mean, it felt appropriately awkward for the situation. In my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah, true.
Because I felt that was like one of my favorite scenes from the show, just because of how absurdly strange it was.
The therapist just decides to put them through couples therapy despite them not being a couple. Okay.
Yeah.
Therapists
I
do
feel
that,
like-
right?
I feel like they're with like that and a couple other things, like them referring to themselves as partners later. They're like appealing to the fandom, like the fan theories that they're like together.
Is that a thing? I thought that was only really a thing with like Steve and Bucky.
It's a thing with every pair of characters in the MCU, and
That's
I mean
true.
it's definitely
lot.
more with Falcon and the Winter Soldier now.
Peter
Yeah.
Parker and Tony Stark.
No.
Oh, God.
Kevin, no. But yeah, in like there is the whole action scene in that second episode where they're fighting on trucks because the Flag Smashers are transporting vaccines, and this whole time you're kind of just thinking like, wait, so why are they actually fighting them? Like I understand that they've done illegal stuff, but like why do we care? You know, that was my big problem is just
Yeah.
why should I care about this?
Early on, it was just like, Torres was like, "Hey, this is a problem," and Sam was like, "Okay, let's fix it," and that was kind of it. Like that was the only context we really got, so we were kind of just relying entirely on that dynamic.
Yeah, and at the very beginning, the Flag Smashers are described as like, oh, these guys thought that the world was better when half of the people were gone because of Thanos, and it's like, so do they want to re-kill like half of the people? Is that what it is? And it's not that, but like from the first episode, you kind of have no idea what their actual goal is, and that's what you kind of just assume is like, I guess they just want to like kill all the people again.
Yeah,
They're gonna kill everyone via vaccine.
they were called Thanos sympathizers, but they weren't.
Their actual thing was just when half of the people were gone, there was essentially like no borders because the world governments were too busy like with other stuff to really care about borders. And so the world was kind of a lot more unified trying to like solve the Thanos problem, and then once Endgame happened, it seemed like everything was just going back to normal, and they were like, oh, we don't want things to be back to normal, which I feel like properly explained, that's not a terrible motivation, but it doesn't completely work the way that they show it here.
I think we talked about this when the series was, as it was coming out. I kind of think it was like not well explained by any means, but like I definitely got what they were going for, especially because like the GRC, like the antagonist to the Flag Smashers is the Repatriation Council. Like it sounds like their whole thing is just kind of like getting everyone back where they were supposed to be, and so I feel like it's pretty well indicated that like They're more concerned with like the political structures that were in place more so than like we should kill people.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that they don't really have a tangible goal until the 5th episode out of 6 episodes.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of an issue.
I mean, and I don't know if we want to, talk extensively about this or anything, but like, there's kind of like the rumor going around that originally the plot was supposed to revolve around like a worldwide virus or like bioweapon that leaked, and that's why they were getting vaccines. And of course, given actual, real life circumstances, that's not necessarily a palatable, plot to put out. So I guess it would make sense that they kind of like had to flip the script later on.
Yeah,
But-
and I think that's like we don't know if there were rewrites because of that, but it seems that there's at least a decent chance that there were, and that maybe that's why it turned out so weird. At the end of episode 2, they kind of just say like, man, we need somebody to help us figure out these darn super soldiers, where they're coming from. Guess who we're gonna go to? Hey, it's Baron Zemo from Civil War.
Gonna
I
put
liked
on that
him.
mask once.
I
Yeah,
really
he
liked.
was-
I really
Yeah,
liked
he was
him,
great.
He was
honestly.
just a villain who had like a weird motive, but was helping people.
He was very.
It's the same situation I have where, where it was like the Clone Wars Anakin versus Anakin in the prequels, where it was like Clone Wars Anakin, way cooler, absolutely love him, but it feels like an entirely different character. Like I kind of have like a weird disparity between them. Same thing here. Like Zemo feels like he should have felt in the first place, but he feels nothing like the one from Civil War.
I feel like that's a lot in due part because in Civil War he was like very desperate and focused and determined on what he wanted to do, like get rid of superheroes and all that. But now that I think he's coming to terms with that he can't really do that, and now he's just kind of like laid back and he's like,
just vibing.
okay,
I
I understand.
guess
I
he
can't
did
do that.
great.
It
Like-
was just weird seeing him go from like, the gritty like place where he, drowned that guy in the sink or, like all that.
Yeah.
And then it just turns out he actually like flies on private jets all the time and is just, swimming in loads of money. And it was like, all right, so I don't really like it. I guess it makes sense that he's kind of like chilled out now, but it seems like his cool personality just came out of nowhere.
I definitely think it
weird.
felt like a shift because in Civil War, it seemed like he just wanted revenge on the Avengers because they were the reason his family died. And here he's just like, I hate super soldiers. Anyone with powers needs to die.
Yeah, he just kind of had a change of motivation. Like, we were never given that idealistic side in Civil War.
He's like become way more radicalized, but also way cooler.
Yeah.
He's just
Yeah.
like hanging out now, dancing and like flying around.
Match
But
is
also
kinda
now
cool.
he wants way more people to die or like be gone.
The thing is, he has pretty much come out on top. Like, he's 2 for 2 at this point.
Yeah.
Although
What-
I will say, they kind of discuss his ideology a little bit of just like, oh, is it bad to have like powered people? They never bring up the obvious point, which I think would completely destroy his argument, that A, the Avengers being split up means that they were less effective defending the Earth against Thanos. So it was his fault. Like, I'm not gonna put it all on him, but like, it was kind of his fault that Infinity War happened, because if the Avengers weren't split up, they would have done better, And then B, the fact that the Avengers were the ones who brought everyone back from Thanos, and it's like, so clearly they're doing good,
That's really weird to think about Zemo being partially responsible for the blip.
Yeah.
You know? I never really thought about that, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember hearing, it was like an interview with the Russo brothers where they said that, like essentially the lasting effects of Civil War was that if Vision had been informed about or if they could have protected Vision from Thanos' like Black Order coming after him, then he wouldn't have gotten ambushed. He wouldn't have like lost his powers, and then they wouldn't have gotten the Mind Stone. And then like, who knows what would have happened after that? But clearly they would have done better if not for Zemo.
Might have just had that enough time to... Actually, I feel like it may not have made a difference, because even if they did succeed to steal the stone, at that point Thanos could easily still have the Time Stone.
Yeah, but then you also have to think, like, Thor came really close to killing him, so if they had delayed Thanos by just a little bit, then then maybe Thor could have actually killed it. I mean, like I said, who knows? Because anything could have happened. But
And so did like the Avengers on Titan. Like they definitely stood a chance if they were all together.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, they were
according
very
to
close.
Doctor Strange, there was only one.
Well, one
He was
point
looking
from that.
from that
for
point
starting
in
from
time.
there, yeah.
Yeah, so are you saying that if Vision like didn't get nerfed at the beginning of the movie,
No,
then
and
he would have been like, there's two.
Well, also, if the Avengers had been together as the Avengers, then maybe Captain America would have been on Titan, or somebody else would have been on Titan. What if Wanda had been on Titan? Like, come on.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that could have done it.
Wanda and Doctor Strange, it wouldn't really have been fair at that
How would
point.
Wanda have gotten on the spaceship?
She can fly.
yeah.
She can get beamed up. Anyway, one thing I did think was really weird about Zemo's whole philosophy, we might be getting into the 4th episode here, I don't even remember. No, I do remember, this is the 4th episode. Zemo mentions, like, he asks Sam, like, oh, if you could take the serum, would you? And Sam instantly answers no, and he's like, oh, you were immediate, that's impressive. And it's like, but why wouldn't Sam take the serum? Why is he so against the super soldier serum? Like, it makes enough sense out of universe, because I feel like in the real world, like realistically, it probably is bad for some people to have superpowers, you know, and I would be kind of scared. But like within the context of the MCU, all of the superheroes have powers, you know, or like most of them at least. And it was never seen as like a moral issue for like, oh, should Steve Rogers take the serum? Yeah, he should, because he's awesome.
Well, no, that was like exactly the thing. They were like,
Let's
we need
go.
to find the person with the best moral character, not the best strength going in and stuff like that. And then even like,
Yeah, and they found
what I
him,
mean?
and he
Like-
took it. They weren't ever like, ooh, Steve Rogers, would you take the serum? And he immediately says no.
And then
No,
they
they
force
won't.
him to?
I guess the other thing is like, I mean, Sam wouldn't know this, but in the comics, the serum or like the augmentation that the power broker used was like 50% would give you super strength, 50% would kill you instantly. So like,
Okay,
it
but
does kinda
Zemo
make
didn't
sense that you would
say
roll-
that serum specifically. He said the serum, which, since it was a hypothetical, you think he's probably talking about the same one that Steve Rogers took.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's just, it's never really...
I
It's
think
never
they were
really
He's afraid of
fully been a
needles.
thing before, especially when you have heroes like Tony Stark who just like build suits of armor for themselves that are like as strong as an army, basically. And like, I'm personally kind of concerned about the fact that like some billionaire just has like an Iron Man suit, you know, but like he doesn't seem concerned about it. Nobody else really seems that concerned.
Yeah,
They were
well,
right.
I think it,
I think they were just driving. It's like the same point as him giving up the shield at the beginning. Like they're trying to make the point that like people who don't want power are the people who should have the most power. But it like that makes sense as a lesson, but it doesn't. I agree that it doesn't make sense that Sam wouldn't want the super soldier serum in this context.
Yeah, and like this guy, you know, like he went against Thanos. He shot bullets at Thanos. You'd think that he would be like, man, I feel like I could be a little stronger when all my powers are wings. Like, sure, the wings are pretty cool, but like,
His bullets aren't gonna get amped by the serum.
okay, I'm just saying he's clearly been out of his league before. Wings are cool, don't get me wrong, but they're not really powers. They're wings.
Yeah, it's like it's not even on the level of like an Iron Man suit either. It's just
Yeah.
like
Well,
he can
until-
fly.
Now he's got the shield though. That's a cool combo power thing.
He does have the shield, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk about when we get to the final episode discussion.
I don't know. I still think it might be a valid worry that like because it amplifies everything about you. So if he has any insecurities or something and he's worried about them like getting, you know, amped up like John Walker's.
So if I'm,
I
like,
do agree. It's
if
a,
I'm
it's
like
a good lesson.
kind of
It's
hot,
implemented poorly.
if I'm kind of hot now and I take the super soldier serum, will I be really hot?
Well, yeah, like you saw Chris Evans. He went from it was like scrawny, you know, little cute twink kind of deal to you know full on.
Full on hunk.
Yeah,
Full on Captain America.
it was Chris Evans on a little tiny body. Chris Evans on a big body. You know.
Yeah.
Like the Blob from X-Men.
This is about the time when the Dora Milaje show up from Black Panther. That was cool.
Yeah.
They seemed like they
Yeah.
were kind of just there for the sake of being there, but like, it was neat.
They gave that nice
I really
flashback
liked-
scene.
I really liked John Walker's reaction to getting completely destroyed by them.
Yeah. Oh
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Like that like completely broke him.
Yeah, he was like, "Put down your sticks, fellas." All right.
They weren't even super soldiers. Like that was
Yeah.
just a really good line.
I loved Wyatt Russell
Hmm.
in the whole series. I really don't understand why people were so immature and childish about.
Oh my
his
god, people
portrayal,
are
you
so dumb.
It's unbelievable.
What were they saying?
they were like attacking him like as an actor or as a person because they didn't like his character, but like that's
Oh my
just because
God.
he's really good at playing
Yeah.
a hateable character.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
his performance was amazing.
Yeah,
Not even
Yeah.
taking it in stride because I remember him saying like, "Dude, it's awesome being the Marvel punching bag." That just means I did an awesome job.
He
Someone
did.
might
He
just
should be
prove me
proud.
wrong here in a second, but like I feel like stuff like that doesn't happen really with the movies. Like it seems to be like a TV thing. Like people get really attached to characters on a TV show far more than they ever do with the movie.
I disagree because
I
have you
don't
seen
think
those
that's necessarily
billboards where
true.
people are campaigning to bring
Oh my
Tony
God.
Stark back in the movies?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, but like you never get the weird obsessive fans. Well, you get
Weird obsessive MCU
no,
fans
no, you
100% existed before the Disney
let
Plus
me
shows.
finish the sentence. You don't
No.
get the kind of weird obsessive fans that like make the same kind of attacks you see a lot with TV shows. Like it seems a lot more
Counterpoint,
rampant with TV
Ray
shows.
Lowe.
Captain Marvel.
Okay,
Wait, Luke, sorry, what did you say?
I said Ray Lowe.
Yeah. The
Dan,
two
I think
examples
I
you
agree
provided
with
were
you
Captain
most of it.
Marvel and like, Kylo Ren. you know.
okay, I take back my point.
Yeah, Dan, I was gonna say I agree with you most of the time, but like the MCU is like one of the example and Star Wars because like you
Yeah.
spend so much time with those characters. It's like it's about like how long the character is part of the viewer's life, I guess. And like
Mm.
MCU characters are pretty important to a lot of people.
Yeah, that also has to do with screen time because
Yeah.
MCU has a lot of screen time compared to most movies.
Yeah.
The MCU basically is a TV show, just like just the movies have
Yeah.
as much runtime as a TV show.
It's just
Not
it's
counting
just-
the
it's-
TV shows.
It's just a really weird TV show.
The most expensive TV show.
Yeah.
That I don't know. That was one of my issues with this series. I think I really enjoyed WandaVision in part because of like the gimmick. Like it was just a really cool series. But every time an episode finished, I was kind of like, what happened? Like not much really went on. You know what I mean? So each one was I don't know like 20 to 30 minutes, and every time it would finish, and I was kind of just like I just kind of wanted more per episode. And I do really like the kind of episodic format of these new stories coming out, but the limitation is like they work really well in the overall story arc, but like each episode also needs to have its own kind of its own kind of I don't know like arc, its own independent motion. And each of these felt kind of like episode 5 like really cool, and I really enjoyed the opening fight, but it felt very climactic and something that like would have belonged more at the end of an episode. And so it's like it's not really a fault of the writers or anything. It was just kind of like squeezing a kind of long form story like this and like arbitrarily cutting it every 50 minutes can kind of just like feel kind of weird.
Honestly, I disagree completely. Like I thought because you certainly can have a show where each episode will start out with the slower paced stuff and then end with an action scene. But the fact that they kind of were willing to do whatever, but like as long as it still had those elements, like every episode has something exciting that happens, and every episode has a scene with the villains, and every episode has a scene with like whatever. I thought that the way this was split into 6 episodes was honestly pretty satisfying.
I think the show, like, throughout the show was like pretty like enjoyable and engaging, but like when you're all done, really, 3 things happened in this entire show. Sam became Captain America, which we kind of already just assumed happened before the show. John Walker joined up with that weird lady, and we found out that Agent Carter is now evil. Like, it was fun along the way, but in retrospect, those three things are really the
Yeah,
only
that's-
consequence that happens.
That's kind of my one thing, and
Those
I
are-
think
those-
like Kevin will vehemently disagree with me on this. But like, so like WandaVision, it would finish, and I was like, cool, one or two things happened per that episode, and like that's neat. But it kind of felt like there was some filler in between and stuff like, which obviously like that's you need to format it like that. It just serves a long form story better. But like here, it was the same thing. Like one or two main things would happen every episode, but they were like an hour long. So I would just finish and be like, they just felt a little empty. Like I did really enjoy the show. I just like. I don't know. It felt a little slower, like a little like stretched out almost.
I think plot-wise that makes sense, but I feel that this show was really carried by its performances most of the time.
characters.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like,
sure.
Yeah.
and also like you're talking about like Dan was saying, Agent Carter, Captain America, and the other thing he said. But like a lot of it was world building. It wasn't necessarily plot, and that was
Yeah, I
something that I think this show at least attempted and did marginally well.
I think
My difference that I have here is that WandaVision, the filler parts just felt boring. But in this show, like literally my favorite episode was when they just stood around and just like fixed the boat. That was my favorite part. They literally did nothing but fix a boat, and it was the entire series. Just because it was just so fun and the characters like carried it, you know?
Yeah, like I don't know if the boat fixing was my favorite part, but I like the characters, and I like the way, for the most part, that the characters were portrayed. So stuff like the Isaiah Bradley subplot, where he is the old black Captain America or black super soldier that was kind of like buried by the US government. Despite the fact that probably won't come back in future things, and like, okay, it's not one of the three important things that happened in the show, I really liked that. I thought that was really good. Stuff like seeing Bucky go to therapy and like kind of seeing him grow as a character and like learn. And we even got the flashback scene of when Bucky first gets like the Winter Soldier programming taked out of him. Like all of that I really enjoyed. And despite the fact that, again, it's not, that you don't need to know that it happened in order to watch the next Marvel movie, I still really enjoyed it and thought that it was like worth my time.
It did what a TV show is supposed to do. Give you time to like be with these characters doing what they do all the
I don't
like, in their
necessarily
lives.
mean the three things that happened in a disparaging way to the rest of the show. It's just I was kind of going off Connor's comment where it feels like sometimes stuff doesn't really happen, which like I do think is the case with this show and even WandaVision a little bit. Like it was
I agree
good and
more with
enjoyable, and like the
that
character
happening in
stuff was very good. But and I'm not saying it has to do stuff. It does feel like a lot of stuff could have been cut that didn't have to be here. Like you could have trimmed this down into like a 4-hour show with like the really good stuff, and like I think it would
Yeah,
have
but
been
then
much
you
needed.
lose all of those hours that I wanted to see.
But then you lose the
Like,
boat
Kevin,
scene,
Kevin, like
Dan.
you said, you love
Yes,
the
the
boat
boat.
fixer stuff. Yeah, like you said, like you love the boat fixer stuff, and I agree. I think that was some of like the best stuff. So like that you would keep, but like I feel like a lot of the various like staking out flag smasher hideouts, going to find flag smashers, losing the flag smashers, monologues from flag smashers. I feel like you could have cut so
Dude,
much.
cutting out the monologues from the Flag Smashers like cuts out the only thing that they have.
Yeah,
You might
I
as well
think
committed to the bad villain bit at this point. It dragged it down more than anything. 'Cause,
I
like,
kind
you
of-
spend time with a villain that isn't good. That's worse than just committing to having a cartoonish villain and just focus on the stuff that people enjoy.
I kind of agree with saying that the Flag Smashers stuff was the worst part of it, but I think that giving them less runtime is the problem with Marvel villains, and like like overall I don't want to be like, oh man, it would be really good if the villains were just really one-dimensional and pointless and we didn't get it. Like I like having time with the villains. I just think that in this, like, it wasn't done well here. I wish that we had spent time with them, but the time was better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I
like
agree.
if they cut out time with the villains and put more time into the characters, like the other characters, I think that would have been a better change for me, I think.
But like
Yeah.
the time we have with the villains in this isn't good, and I don't enjoy it, and I think it makes the show worse. So like in a hypothetical, yeah, you could just do better villains. But like looking at this show, they had a very kind of clear-cut path, I think, to trimming it down. but they didn't, and they left in a lot of unenjoyable
So
stuff.
in your hypothetical, you would just remove them.
Well, I don't know. I feel like they could have rewritten, done basic reshoots, maybe like cut out a couple scenes here and
Okay,
there.
actually, I agree with Dan here. If we cut out the villains, then we could have had more boat.
Yeah, more boat.
It's
The
just a 6-episode show of them fixing a boat.
The real
It's
villain was the banker who refused to give Sam the loan to fix the boat.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Big time.
That man was
Anyway,
very
going back to the plot and stuff, we've kind of been skimming over a lot, but that's fine. Towards the end, we hear, and this is kind of what I said was like the one actual motivation of the Flag Smashers. There's something called the Patch Act, which is like the GRC is trying to pass this bill, act, law, whatever. They're trying to restore the borders, basically, and they're all meeting to do that. And the Flag Smashers, evil globalists, are like, let's stop it. They hire Batroc again, except he's actually working for Sharon Carter, who's also the power broker, who is the one that gave everyone the super soldier serum to begin with, but now she's just doing random stuff. Nobody knows. And Captain America needs to stop them, and he's fully Captain America. He gets the wings again, but they're red, white, and blue, and he gets the shield, and now he's Captain America.
Yeah, his wings are now Wakandan tech and are literally just like Iron Man suits. Like the wings don't even need to exist because he has a jetpack that can carry him and a car.
I
He's
think
got
the
little
idea was that
multiple
yeah.
drones that
Right.
can pop out. The wings are just
Proper
for show.
Yeah, I remember when he was like lifting that armored car, I was like, yeah, he has the wings, but how are his arms supporting that? Because I mean,
He has
he
strong
still
arms.
has regular arms.
It's really fun. The workout montage.
Maybe he
Listen,
did
listen.
take the super soldier serum and he just lied.
Well, it wasn't just him. He had like these two little like thruster drones come out and also push
Yeah, but why did he even have his arms there? Those aren't going to do anything with an armored
to
car.
show that he's actually the one doing it, you know?
No, I mean, like, why couldn't? I don't know. It just didn't make any sense. It
No,
felt
no,
like
I get-
felt like his arms should have been crushed.
Yeah, like if he did that, his arms would be the weakest point and would probably just like
Yeah.
break.
Like, assuming the jetpack is like super powerful enough to lift it, it would just be like him holding up an armored car while standing on the ground, which doesn't make any sense.
He's Captain America.
Oh, okay,
His suit
never mind.
looks cool as hell, though. I
It
love the
does.
new
I
suit.
liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was very cool.
It's Wakandan.
It was a little bit weird that apparently all of the GRC guards were the Flag Smashers. Like consistently we keep seeing
Yeah.
guards and it's like, ooh, do you think we can trust these guards? And then they whisper to each other, one world, one people, and then do a bunch of evil stuff. And it's like, how did they replace all of the guards in this government building?
No.
Yeah.
There was
That- oh,
one guard. There was one guard that was not a flag smasher, and it was Carter. It
Okay.
was Agent-
That always, like, whenever they did that, that felt like a ripoff of like Hail Hydra from the Winter Soldier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
one
Yeah.
made a lot more sense because
Yeah.
Hydra was controlling everything, or was controlling S.H.I.E.L.D. at least. So,
Mhm.
like, you expect that a lot of the important S.H.I.E.L.D. people were Hydra, but, like, the Flag Smashers just showed up. You know,
Yeah.
it's not like they've been there the whole time.
It is kind of weird to think about. They saw Hydra and they're like, oh, it's awesome the way that they have a saying. We should copy that. We're good guys.
I was talking earlier about how Batroc's his one trait is being French. In the last episode, he fights Sam, and I think it's when he mentions that like Sam cost him a lot of money or something, because Sam makes some joke about buying a baguette or some French fries, and it's like, Sam, you're really taking this Captain America thing to heart, right?
Yeah.
you're just like
Knowing
making fun
nothing
of the
about other
French now.
Classic Captain America harassing French people.
Remember in Winter Soldier when Steve Rogers like was about to fight Batroc and he's just like, go buy a baguette?
Classic Captain America moment right there.
There's this one scene when Carly is talking to Bucky, and she says that Bucky has never fought for anything bigger than himself. And I'm like, he doesn't argue against that. He doesn't even say no to that, despite the fact that he fought A, the Nazis, and B, Thanos. Those are two of like the most objectively correct fights that you can fight, you know?
But even like the incorrect ones, like when he was the Winter Soldier, of course he wasn't doing it for himself. He had no agency. Like all he's been doing all his life is fighting for, you know, things larger than himself.
Maybe she wasn't saying that like he's never done anything good. Maybe she was just saying that he is so incredibly significant that he's like on the same level as like the Nazis.
Wow, you're so self-centered, making everything about you.
I also
might as well talk
so that was
about
it was just
Carly.
to like distract him, right? Like I don't.
Yeah,
it was such a weird call. Like it was just such a weird concept.
Yeah, it was not well communicated what was happening, because I was like, she was like, thanks, and then they just cut.
And then when
like
you do understand that, it doesn't make sense because like Bucky is like a, you know, trained super soldier, you know, a tactical, you know, whatever, and he's just like, oh, I was doing my job, but I should take this call. Yeah, and he just stands there like he falls completely into the trap.
Well, I mean, he's only trained as the Winter Soldier. He's like a pretty good fighter, but like he's not the Winter Soldier.
Oh, true.
And also, he's not a tactical genius.
Yeah. Like he has the training of a military guy and probably a little bit more.
Yeah,
a military guy
I shouldn't
from
say
World
tactical
War II.
genius, but like he knows enough to like in the middle of a fight not take the phone call. Like he just, I don't know, he plays completely into this, you know, strategy.
Well, I mean, that's just what the hero thing is just like talk to the villains and try and talk them out of it.
He's also kind of dumb. Like he's not incredibly smart.
This gets into my whole problem with Carly. We might as well talk about what happens with her. Because this is very relevant, is that she's fighting Sam, and Sam the whole time is trying to talk her down. He's like, Carly, I don't want to fight you and stuff, and he's just kind of like defending himself.
I wouldn't want to fight me neither.
And the thing is, right, that this whole time, like, he's tried to talk her down multiple times at this point, and she's refused. She's just killed more people. And she, like, blew up a building of innocent people and, like, said that she'd do it again, you know? And at the end of this fight, she, like, pulls out a gun and totally would have shot Sam if not for Sharon Carter shooting her. And even after all of that, Sam is still just kind of like, man, sucks that Carly died, you know? Like, she was so fine and, like, probably was a decent person and stuff, and it's like, was she though?
No, he was just mad that she took away the challenge. He wanted to see if he could take that bullet after becoming.
He didn't even have like super soldier serum. He's like, I have a new name now. Let's see if I can take a bullet.
I can
also,
take
like,
it.
vibranium armor itch.
Yeah, but like he was standing still. You'd think she would have aimed for not armor.
I can take it.
Yeah, but the whole thing just annoyed me because they were clearly trying to make Carly sympathetic, but clearly weren't going to actually make her sympathetic at all.
Yeah.
Well, the weird thing about that too is like every time we see her talking with her compatriots, like they intentionally make it so like you can see all of her I don't know, teammates, co-workers, whatever. You know, they're clearly getting uncomfortable with how far she's going, and they're constantly drifting away, and to the point that in the finale she's like, "One world," and they all kind of like looking at each other like, "Man, we're gonna kill the hostages." That's kind of crazy. Like, I don't know, but then they just like blindly do what she says. Like it just like it doesn't really make any sense. Like they're trying to make her human, but then like she says crazy stuff. People like are obviously uncomfortable with it, but then just go through with it anyway and like do crime. They do crime.
Yeah, I really thought like at least one of them was going to like change sides or something like that.
Yeah,
like the guy who looked like Critical. I thought he was gonna be the guy, but it never happened.
I've been told that I look like a younger Critical.
Yeah, valid.
No, but one thing that was really weird, I was talking before about how Zemo, his ideology in this is kind of a little bit bizarre. He was 100% correct about Carly. He says early on, he says like, "Oh, Sam, you're seeing something in Carly that doesn't exist." Like, and then later he says to Bucky, like, "You need to kill Carly because she's not going to stand down. She's been radicalized too far." And we're supposed to look at him and think that he's wrong, but there's literally nothing to suggest that he wasn't 100% correct there.
Well,
yeah.
Sam almost did talk her down that one time.
Kind of. I mean, it seemed like she was being talked down a little bit, but then still, like I said, was saying that she would kill all of those people again if she could.
Like,
you
she
know,
was
and
just
Sam just like
calm.
called her out on that. Like, what does that make you sound like? And she's like, "You're tricking me."
Yeah, that
No,
would
I
be
totally
really
think that
good.
scene would have worked if John Walker didn't walk in like an idiot.
What's
That
his
was
name?
yeah.
What's he supposed to do?
one
Not
of
was
the
walk?
pretty
I like.
stupid.
Did you know he's actually named after a whiskey?
Really?
Yeah, fun fact.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
John
U.S.
Walker is
Agent
whiskey.
Whiskey.
Yeah, and then in the comics he like fakes his own death and assumes a new identity, and his name is Jack Daniel. He literally just like doubled down on the joke. It's such a weird thing.
Huh. That's bizarre.
Yeah, fun little tidbit.
Thank you.
I just like because I think Winter Soldier and Civil War had kind of the right amount of nuance where there was like they're not high art or anything. It's not Citizen Kane, but I was interested in what was happening, and overall like the villains were pretty engaging and stuff. I feel like this show was so close to being that, and it's really just the fact that the Flag Smashers don't really have a strong like they're not well defined, especially near the beginning, and the fact that Carly as a villain is just completely stupid and I don't care about her at all.
Yeah, I feel like the movies were much more dense in their presentation about the ideas with the characters and the villains. Like, if they took, like, the first part of, like, episode 2, maybe, and, like, very clearly defined exactly what the Flag Smashers wanted to do and their goals, which I know was difficult because of reshoots and rewrites and all that. But if they did that, I feel like they wouldn't have to spend as much time redefining or trying to justify what their goals are later in the other episodes, because I feel like there's a lot of time dedicated to them doing stuff, but none of that stuff matters. So if they just get it all out of the way at first, then they don't have to spend that screen time doing stuff that nobody generally cares about, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, and really, like, I just wanted to be invested in them, because I was honestly invested in, like, John Walker's storyline and, like, Isaiah Bradley's storyline, and most of... who's the Contessa? I didn't really care about her, but she was only in, like, 2 scenes, so
the
whatever.
The lady from Veep.
Or Seinfeld.
Yeah,
I thought of
I
her as
always
the
just
lady
think of
from
her as
Seinfeld.
Elaine.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair.
But they did confirm she'll be in Black Widow.
Okay, I might not care about her then. We'll have to see.
I get the same vibes from these like first 2 Disney Plus shows as like the first few like Phase 1 Marvel movies, where like you have good character stuff that you kind of like, but they just kind of have like villains and like some writing that could be improved.
At least the color grading was good.
The color grading is definitely
yeah.
better than Phase 1.
Yeah.
Say that.
Yeah, visually very stimulating. I really get the presentation.
To be honest, I probably did enjoy this more than the Phase 1 Marvel movies. So that's something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least
I
most
agree
of
with
them.
that for the most
Iron Man 1 was really good.
Yeah, Iron Man 1 was great.
Yes.
Like
There's
I
no
get,
Iron
like,
Man 3 though.
Oh yeah, but that's not Phase
I
1.
agree. It's not Iron Man 3. It's a lot better.
I get
Yeah.
I get like Captain America, Thor, Iron Man 3 vibes from like these
Those
WandaVision and
those are 3 varying quality films.
I roughly consider those around. I
Wait,
consider
repeat
them
which ones those were?
around. It was Thor,
Yeah.
Captain America 1, and Iron Man 3. I consider those 3 to be rough, like the average Phase 1.
I can
Okay,
see
but
that.
Iron Man 3 was not a Phase 1 movie.
It
Yeah.
wasn't, but like it's around the same level of quality. They still
Okay,
hadn't
that's
quite
fair.
figured.
Okay, I
Yeah.
all right.
Anyway, all of the super soldiers just get blown up. That was fun.
Yeah,
Zemo's
great.
butler does it, and I kind of forgot who that was. I think me and Kevin were both a little bit like, "Wait, who's this old guy?" And then we
Yeah,
were both
I
like,
had no
"Oh,
clue. I
yeah,
had to rewatch
Zemo."
that. Like I had to go because I didn't wait and see the next scene. I was like, wait, am I supposed to remember who this is? I have no clue. And then it cuts directly to Zemo, and he's like, so I'm like, okay, but yeah, they just relied on you remembering that.
That was
Yeah,
a fantastic
tell
scene.
me.
Yeah.
Goodbye,
Originally
Flag
it was like,
Smashers.
oh, these are just comic book villains. We'll probably see them again. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, no, we're not.
What about
I do
what about the
appreciate
speech
that
at
Marvel
the end?
is trying to like make their villains more like actual foils to the characters as opposed to just the cartoony, like I think, I don't know. It focused really well on like things like systemic racism and kind of showing that, patriotism taken to the extreme, or even like nationalism, is just a bad thing. Blind nationalism is bad, and that's like in the comics, in this show, that's John Walker's MO. Is like he is just like blindly devoted to this country and its ideals, and that's not what Steve Rogers was about. And so in all of their arcs, that's kind of the main point. So like Flag Smasher would be like a really good foil to that idea, and showing like, hey, yeah, like I don't believe in patriotism in the US. I don't believe in patriotism at all. But it's just like really poorly done, and some of the things kind of go against that idea. Like I kind of like the idea that Sharon was like wrongfully ousted from the country. Like she did what was right and she saved the day, but America and kind of, like whatever, I don't know, bureaucratic elite or whatever you want to, like, kind of forced her out against, the actual right thing to do. But then it's just like, no, she's just like a terrorist and she's going to exploit the, it's just like, you can't be a victim of the US and its power structures without being a villain. And I didn't really enjoy that. I thought they could have shown a lot more like varied perspectives about people who can oppose the US and its kind of global hegemony without, trying to exploit it or be evil. I
mean, that was also Isaiah Bradley. That you're describing Isaiah Bradley right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't mind it too. Like when you phrase it like that, I'm like, I guess, but the way that I saw it was just like Sharon Carter was essentially forced into this situation, and now she's just kind of rolling with it, and it's like it's kind of the fault of the US for like making her a criminal to begin with, anything wrong. But yeah, Isaiah Bradley was just out there minding his own business, like, I don't like the US, and Sam, you shouldn't be Captain America. And then Sam was like, I'm gonna be Captain America anyway. And it was cool, and I liked that.
I did. Sharon's reveal had like a cool factor. Like when it first happened, I was like, sick. And then like this was kind of like after like further reflection, I was kind of like, it would have been a lot neater to just have her as like a victim rather than. And I do agree. I guess it's neat to like force her into that role.
I do feel like the forced into the role thing, like that excuse kind of starts to lose credibility when you're like, she's literally taken over an entire city and is like one of the richest people now. Like that is a little far.
She's
well,
cool.
no, I understand her having to like
herself.
survive and thrive in this new, environment, but
She's more than thrive.
What's more than thriving?
I guess, yeah. What?
She's doing great, honestly.
Yeah, I'd say thriving pretty well describes this situation.
I don't think thriving quite does it justice. She's doing much. She's doing super thriving, mega thriving, thriving with 2 eyes.
All right, we're good.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, what about when Captain America gives his speech at the end, and it's kind of a long-winded speech. Kind of liked what he was saying, but it wasn't as succinct as most of what Steve Rogers would say.
He doesn't have to say it like Steve Rogers
it felt
would say.
very
I know
on the
he doesn't
nose,
have to
the
say it
writing.
exactly like
Yeah,
Steve Rogers.
yeah.
I'm just saying I'm a big fan of the Steve Rogers speeches. I'm like, oh man, Steve Rogers, when he gives a speech, that was cool. And then Sam gives a speech, and I'm like, yeah, it was an okay speech, but it was like kind of a long speech.
I think that's like exactly what they're trying to show. Is like that was the thing. Steve was the perfect soldier, and he always he was the leader. He could give like a really rousing, inspiring speech, and Sam is trying to live up to that legacy. So it doesn't really make sense that he would just immediately come out and be like, I can give a Steve speech anytime I want.
I don't think that's the character arc. I don't think that's what they were going for, was showing that he's a bad public speaker, because clearly it wasn't a bad speech.
No, but he needs room to grow. He is new to being Captain America.
I'm just saying I don't think that was the point of the scene at all.
No,
in general,
not the main point or anything.
It felt like it was supposed to be a triumphant moment, and it just kind of faltered a little bit because it was so long and on the nose and weird.
I thought it was cool. I liked it.
It's also just that what he was saying would have made a lot more sense if the Flag Smashers were different villains. If they had been good villains.
I feel like one part that was very strange about that speech was that there was an element of back and forth between the bureaucrat or whoever the important people were, government people at the time, he was just talking to, and they responded to that okay, well, Mr. Captain America, you say that stuff, but how would you do that? And that was a weird not.
I like that they had the back and forth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
same.
I just feel like that's not what a speech is for. I don't know.
That's part of what made it feel too like awkward for me. Like the writing
Yeah.
didn't work for
Like,
what
you
they were
don't
going
understand. And then
Yeah.
Sam was like, yes.
for.
He's
Yeah.
like the Nordic Chad. Yes.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
what made the timing weird or not, in my opinion, was it sounded like the script was like, okay, you're gonna say you don't understand, and then he's gonna interrupt you. But he didn't interrupt him. He just kind of trailed off, and then Sim was like, "Yeah, you're right."
Well, I don't know. That kind of makes sense. Where it's like he's just trying to like put up a facade argument. So he's like, "Oh, you just don't know what you're talking about," ha ha ha. And then Sam can be like, "Nah, facts and logic." He didn't really have any facts and logic. It was kind of just an appeal to emotion. But you know,
I do think it could have been trimmed a little bit, but I think overall I like the speech enough that
I agree with that.
Pass.
Passing grade.
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
like-
I would give it
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a B minus,
What?
solid B.
Bump that
I'm
up.
gonna say
I'll
like
give
C plus.
I'm thinking like a B.
I like the overall notion that like Sam, like I said, like it's like blind patriotism isn't good. So Sam now, like, he has the lived experience of, you know, being a minority in America and that kind of like systemic, you know, bias against him, and he's bringing that into the limelight as the champion of the country.
Yeah.
So like the
I mean-
notion there is really cool. I think the execution.
Yeah. But I mean that's also like through different means, that is a very similar arc to the one that Steve Rogers went through with the Winter Soldier, like realizing that he can't trust his country.
Yeah, true. I guess that's a little less subtle though. You know what I mean? Like the entire
Yeah.
organization he's working for turns out to be Nazis. Like, you know,
Yeah.
so you know, I've kind of watched, you know, videos, listened to interpretations where it's like it would have been a lot better if they weren't Nazis. Like if it was just an actual conspiracy in the American government, it would have made more sense for Steve to be like, oh no, I can't trust the government. Instead, it was just like, oh, it's Nazis again. It's always Nazis. You know what I mean? But like
To be
this
fair,
time,
the
it's
point
like,
wasn't
it's
them
the-
being
it's the country.
Nazis.
No, I
I'm
know,
not trying
yeah,
to
like-
justify Hydra here,
Yeah.
but Hydra did exist before the Nazis.
Yeah. I just think like overall this is better because it is like it is the country itself that has kind of, you know, shown Sam the disadvantages of things like capitalism.
Has the movie canon established that Hydra pre-existed the Nazis?
I don't think so.
Because I know the show, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay,
did,
yeah, I was kind of basing that off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I don't know.
I would assume they do, because I don't remember it entirely, but in the first Avenger, that's what it feels like. But I
mean,
really
in
do not
First
remember.
Avengers, they say it's a Nazi scientist think tank or science group or whatever. They always call it a Nazi.
But I was like
Pentagon,
in the Winter Soldier, it seemed like they weren't like specifically trying to bring back Nazi ideas. They were just kind of bringing back Hydra ideas, you know?
I kind of just chalk that up to like, you know,
was a different
Disney
time.
didn't want to use the Nazis in their movie. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean,
and
they
I
already
think
did,
Oh
though.
yeah, of course.
with
Disney would
comics,
never
too.
do that.
Well, yeah. No, but I think like it probably has to do with like the Comics Code Authority or something, where it's like, you know, they focus more on like, oh, it was totally Hydra doing the evil stuff, and not, you know,
Yeah, but
Hitler's regime.
there were straight up Nazis in the first Avenger.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's
I
kind
don't
of
think that really
literally
makes
the
sense.
entire point of Captain America was that he fought Nazis. I don't think anybody was offended by him fighting Nazis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of weird hot takes this episode. It's been fun though.
Cool.
Here's something that we
Yeah.
can all agree on. Bucky's new haircut. Awesome.
Yeah,
An
epic
improvement.
style.
An improvement for sure.
I don't know. I like the long hair.
I miss the Keanu look.
His hair always looked kind of greasy, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I guess that's
but-
kind of the point. He's like, you know,
He's a gamer.
You'd think, I mean, usually soldiers have like buzz cuts. You know, you'd think if you're keeping like a psycho assassin soldier, you don't want his hair getting in his way.
I wish he had
Yeah,
like
but
a
he looks
mullet.
so
I wish he
edgy.
had like an '80s like.
He just has a mullet.
Like
Instead of like the whole
every
mask and anything, it's just sunglasses and a mullet.
He has a perm. All right, I want to see Bucky with a perm.
Alrighty, so any final thoughts? Any wrapping up ideas? Any?
I like how they made Bucky right-handed.
I like how
Okay.
they made him right-handed, and I like how they showed him like using his other hand after Sam called him out.
Yeah. Okay. So what happens is that they're fixing the boat, and
Yes,
Bucky
boat,
is like,
yes.
"Hey, here, let me do this thing," and he like uses a wrench to like tighten something. But he uses his normal right hand instead of his robot arm. And Sam's like, "Why didn't you use the metal arm?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I'm right-handed, so I don't always think of it right away."
That was fun.
That was a good scene.
Yeah, I like
It was
that one.
enjoyable. I don't think it was.
Happened in the best episode.
I don't know if it was the pinnacle of the series for me.
It,
No, that's
It-
gonna
it-
have repercussions. That's the fourth important plot point that's gonna show up later on.
Oh my God.
he's gonna use his left hand.
It's like the sandwich thing that people think shows that Fury is a Skrull.
What? You can't just say that.
Okay,
have no idea what you're
for
saying.
context, yeah, sorry about that. So in Captain Marvel, he says like, I cannot cut my sandwich diagonally. I have to do it in half. And then in I think it's Civil War. Where do they go to the barn?
Age of Ultron.
Ultron.
Age of Ultron. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. In Age of Ultron, he cuts a sandwich diagonally, eats it, and people are like, "Oh." So it
Stop
must have
swearing,
been
Connor.
a
You're
Skrull.
the worst.
Sorry,
You're
I've
the
been really
worst.
bad this episode. Yeah, I'm replacing Dan.
You may. I don't have to censor anything except for when you and Dan are here.
Yeah, I'll do better there. My bad.
But it's funny because he is a Skrull. I mean, he probably
yeah,
wasn't
like it
a
literally
Skrull
was
then,
legit
but,
evidence.
But he, yeah.
I mean, I just don't know why they would bring it up in Captain Marvel and make it a plot point. It wasn't to contextualize that.
I
but
think
also
it was
could
a
have been completely
joke.
an accident.
I think it was a joke, Connor.
I don't
think it was
understand
character
humor.
development.
Humor
Now
is
he
fine,
can
too.
cut it in
I
diagonal.
think it was world building.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so,
overall, I don't
would you
know. I
recommend it to a
enjoyed
friend?
WandaVision. I
I
enjoyed
would.
this show. And they made me excited for Phase 4. I think they did what they were kind of.
What is Phase
Yeah,
4?
actually,
You're
I
made
was
to
really
do.
checked out after Endgame. I watched Spider-Man, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I think I'm done with Marvel. I don't really care anymore.
Yeah,
But the show actually made me care again.
yeah. Even the
Yeah.
shows weren't
Who could have
perfect,
predicted that?
obviously, but like they did a good job of rallying. Not rallying. That's dumb. Getting people excited for Phase 4.
Honestly, the pandemic has been awful, and that goes without saying. But I feel like if Marvel just kept churning out movies like they had been doing, people would probably like stop. If it was just the same old, it would have probably like died out significantly after Endgame. But this kind of like
Yeah.
forces them into a new kind of form of storytelling and stuff like that that I think is starting to entice people and get them back excited for the coming.
I agree.
phase.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
give people a
if,
break.
If a new Marvel show like every week doesn't give everyone superhero fatigue, nothing will. We're just gonna have
Yeah.
Marvel for the rest
Yeah,
of
definitely.
for every life.
Well, I think this show especially, like, yeah, it's a lot of superhero fatigue, but like again, it's like this is the kind of more down to earth realm of Marvel, where it's not like, oh, there is magic and stuff going on. It's just like these are two guys. It's a buddy cop show.
Okay, but I kind of like the magic stuff.
Yeah.
If we
Magic is
could,
fun.
like, I like the fact that they're doing a whole bunch of things all at once now, and like, the Loki show is coming up, and that is going into absolutely crazy stuff of like they're gonna explore the alternate timelines, and he's with like the time variance authority and stuff, and like now I want to see that because we just got this more down to earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
stuff.
Overall,
They
it's a
definitely
palate
planned
cleanser.
this
Really
well.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I bet the What If series that's coming out soon is probably also going to take a dive into a bunch of the
Oh yeah.
more like magic-y things that happened in the MCU over time.
I like
What
magic.
if?
What if they put all of Zemo's dancing in Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
What
Could
if
be
it's
an
an
hour-long
absolutely
episode.
crazy show? Because
hour
what
longer.
other TV shows have an ellipses and a question mark in the title? Just saying.
We should make one. It's just an ellipses and a question mark.
How would you pronounce it?
Just silent. You gotta pause for a second in the middle of a sentence.
Oh, are you guys ready for the next episode of?
What?
It's you have to make the Tim Allen Home Improvement
Yes.
noise.
Okay,
Who
we're
just
good.
did that Tim Allen Home Improvement though? That was really good.
That was me. Naturally, as a Tim, I have the ability.
It
Can only
sounded
come
like
through it.
you had played it from something.
Oh. No, that was me.
Anyway, yeah, I would say that this was overall, it was pretty good. It wasn't Winter Soldier quality, but it was enjoyable. I liked it.
It was Falcon and the
Yeah.
Winter Soldier quality.
You're right.
Can't argue
I
with
like
that.
that in the finale they kind of retcon the name to Captain America and the Winter Soldier, and I'm like, oh no.
What do you mean, oh no?
Like imagine if they. No, it would just be funny if we had to differentiate between the movie Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and the TV show Captain America and the Winter Soldier.
Oh yeah. For next week on the podcast,
Oh boy.
I think we're doing super bad. Yeah, that's what we're doing. That'll be fun.
With
We've
the
got a
twist.
special surprise coming up. That'll be a good one. And remember that you can email us at acubicinchofsound@gmail.com if you want to. If you don't want to, then don't.